I hit the biggest lottery jackpot, $1 billion. The day I was supposed to claim it, my wife was suddenly kidnapped. The kidnapper, full of bravado, started a live stream for the whole world to see. He pointed at the camera and threatened, "Mr. Alex, if you want your wife back, you'll exchange her for that lottery ticket." I calmly pulled out our marriage certificate from a drawer, my voice even more intense than the kidnappers. "Tell me, how much do you want to finish her off?" On the screen, my wife Sarah was tied up in a rundown factory, her face pale. The comments in the live chat were flying by. "Oh my god, this looks way too real. Doesn't seem like acting at all." The live stream quickly went viral. As viewership skyrocketed, Sarah's parents, Robert and Karen, found out about their daughter's kidnapping and frantically called me. Meanwhile, I was casually sipping coffee, interacting with the kidnapper. Speed things up and convince him to just end it. I transferred the last of our shared marital funds into the live streaming platform. The next second, the front door suddenly burst open. "Alex, what the hell is going on? My daughter's been kidnapped, and you're just sitting here sipping coffee?" I slowly put down my cup and glared at Robert. "Mr. Robert, I want to save Sarah too, but the kidnapper's demands are just too extreme. I can't meet them." The words had barely left my mouth when Robert rushed over, grabbing my collar. "What do you mean by that? Is my daughter's life not worth more than a lottery ticket?" Robert was trembling with desperation, his eyes filled with disappointment. "Mr. Robert, you know I'm broke. There's no way I'm giving up this lottery ticket. As for Sarah, don't worry, I'll definitely throw her a proper funeral when she's gone." Before I could even finish, Karen, who was standing nearby, couldn't hold back anymore. She pointed a finger at me and screamed, "You bastard. Sarah is your wife. How can you just stand there and watch her die?" I looked at the live stream footage as if nothing was happening. "Right now, $1 billion is definitely more important to me than your daughter's life." Just then in the live stream, Sarah yelled my name at the screen. "Alex, I'm pregnant. If you don't want 2 lives lost, hand over that lottery ticket now." At her words, the comments exploded again. "What? They're kidnapping a pregnant woman? That's absolutely sick. Ugh, this poor woman. It's been so long and her husband still hasn't done anything." Exactly. Money can be earned back, but if you lose your life, you really lose everything. As the live stream comments kept flooding in, the kidnapper grew visibly excited. He held up his phone with one hand while the other grabbed Sarah's hair and forced her to the ground. A heart-wrenching scream for help immediately echoed through the video. "Honey, save me." Sarah struggled to lift her head, her gaze fixed on the screen, tears still glistening in her eyes. The live stream audience was horrified by the scene, frantically pulling out their phones to call the police. Karen, seeing her daughter's miserable state on screen, stumbled and nearly fainted beside me. "Alex, did you hear that? My daughter is pregnant." I quirked an eyebrow. "So what if it's a kid? Once I claim my prize, countless women across the country will be lining up to have my babies." After a few more screams, the kidnapper's eyes were blazing red as he stared at the screen. "Mr. Alex, I'm giving you 1 hour to decide. Money or your wife and child." Mid-sentence, he suddenly grinned. "Oh, and I should warn you, I'm not a very patient man. Every 10 minutes I'll chop off one of your wife's fingers until she bleeds to death." I sighed softly at my phone screen. "Don't bother with the fingers. Just go straight for the head. There's no way I'm giving you that lottery ticket. Forget about it." I turned to Robert and Karen. "I don't think you two need to worry too much. The police might have already located the kidnapper by now. Even though the live stream's IP address showed it was outside the country, the police might still find him." But Robert slammed his hand on the table. "Alex, everything you have now you owe to our family. What right do you have not to save my daughter?" He wasn't wrong. The Roberts weren't super rich, but they were far better off than me, a guy who came from humble beginnings. Even my current job was thanks to Robert's connections. I was thinking about how to retort when a large group of police officers burst through the door. Captain Miller, leading the team, immediately focused on me as he entered. "Mr. Alex, our police force can't determine the kidnapper's location yet. To prevent any further harm to your wife, I personally recommend you try to calm him down first." Captain Miller paused mid-sentence, gave me a meaningful look, and then added, "Since the kidnapper is live streaming, our superiors don't want any bloody scenes to appear on screen. I hope you'll cooperate." Before I could even speak, Robert immediately jumped in to agree. "Did you hear that? Even the police are telling you to hand over the lottery ticket. What are you just standing there for?" I cleared my throat and sneered, "Officer, I'm really sorry, but I'm absolutely not giving up that lottery ticket. As for the hostage's safety, you can only blame the police for being derelict in their duty." After hearing my words, the police officers looked completely incredulous. Karen nearby fainted on the spot. "How can you be so heartless when I let my daughter marry you? I didn't ask for a penny in dowry. We even helped you get a new house. Is this how you repay us?" Robert cradled his wife, grief and anger etched on his face. The police officers around me angrily clenched their fists. "Mr. Alex, we advise you to try and appease the kidnapper." I scanned the room, unable to suppress a scoff. "You all sound so righteous. It's easy for you to say. If I lose a wife, I can always remarry. But if I lose this money, I'll be poor my whole life. Just as I finished speaking, the doorbell suddenly rang. Excuse me, is there a Mr. Alex here? I have a package for you. I opened it to find a bloody finger inside. Seeing the sight, everyone gasped collectively. That has my daughter's wedding ring on it. With Robert's startled cry, the atmosphere in the room instantly grew tense. At that moment, a gut-wrenching scream came from the live stream. Ah! I slowly turned my head to look at my phone screen. In the footage, the kidnapper held an axe high, fresh blood still glistening on it. In the corner, my wife was curled up, her back to the screen, her life hanging by a thread. 10 minutes already, I murmured with a smile. Mr. Alex, please, you need to agree to his demands immediately. Captain Miller's face was grim, directing all his anger at me. I calmly shook my head and spoke softly. Captain Miller, instead of trying to persuade me, you should focus on rescuing the hostage. I picked up the severed finger and toyed with it. Only 8 fingers left. You police officers better hurry. No sooner had I spoken than the kidnapper's voice echoed through the live stream again. Mr. Alex, my patience has its limits. If you don't make a decision soon, next time it won't be just a finger. I couldn't help but curse under my breath. Figures. You can't trust a kidnapper's word. He said he'd cut one every 10 minutes, and now he's already gone back on it. But then I reconsidered. Maybe it'd be better if he just chopped off her head next time. At least that would stop the swarm of flies buzzing in my ear. Alex, hurry up and get that lottery ticket. If my daughter dies, I'll never forgive you. I sighed softly, looking at him with a feigned apologetic expression. Mr. Robert, you can only blame your daughter for her bad luck, for getting stuck with a husband like me who values money above all else. At these words, the entire room erupted in murmurs. Some of the younger officers were already clenching their fists. If they weren't in uniform, I'm sure they would have rushed forward to beat me up. Captain Miller angrily pointed at the woman on the screen. Mr. Alex, even if you refuse to save your wife, the child in her belly is innocent. At least, I suggest you reconsider. Looking at my wailing wife on the live stream, I couldn't help but narrow my eyes. A child? I don't even want my wife. Why would I want her child? Captain Miller, you don't need to persuade me anymore. Captain Miller's face was dark as he glared at me, grinning his teeth. Mr. Alex, I hope you won't regret this decision you're making today. I struggled to hold back a laugh. Captain Miller, why would I ever regret it? The professional instrument's indicator lights kept blinking, but they still couldn't pinpoint the kidnapper's exact location. The police were stomping their feet in frustration, utterly helpless. The kidnapper, still live streaming, saw I hadn't responded and unleashed another round of punches and kicks on the woman in the corner. My wife, already losing too much blood, grew even paler. She could pass out at any moment. The number of viewers on the live stream peaked at this moment, the screen full of comments, too many to read. Where's the hostage's husband? Why hasn't he shown up yet? Is there really someone who would let someone die for money? I think the person above is right. Her husband never intended to give up the lottery ticket. Otherwise he wouldn't let the kidnapper harm the hostage. As time ticked by, the kidnapper gradually lost patience. He roared frantically at the screen. Mr. Alex, I'll count to 3. If you don't make a decision, believe me, I'll finish her off right now. I let out a deep sigh and pulled out my phone in front of everyone. The call was answered instantly and my voice broadcast through the live stream was heard clearly by everyone online. Mr. Alex, it seems you still can't bear to lose your wife. The kidnapper's tone was exceptionally smug. I bit back a smile. As long as you hand over the lottery ticket, I guarantee I'll send your wife back unharmed. At this point, the onlookers watching on screen all thought I would give up the massive jackpot for my wife. But what I said next completely stunned everyone. Hey kidnapper, I think you've misunderstood. I just called to tell you to stop dragging your feet and get on with it. I'm in a hurry to claim my prize. The kidnapper had never expected me to say something so outrageous in front of tens of millions of people. Froze on the spot, after a long pause, he forcefully swung an iron hammer at my wife's head, slamming it down hard. There was a sickening thud, and the scene fell into a dead silence. No one had imagined that I would call the kidnapper just to provoke him into killing her. Alex, you animal. You killed my daughter. I'll make you pay. Robert grabbed a fruit knife from the coffee table and lunged at me. The scene instantly descended into chaos. I, the orchestrator of it all, remained perfectly composed, sitting on the sofa. Mr. Robert, I advise you to calm down. The police are all watching. The first to react was Captain Miller. He quickly blocked me grappling with Robert, who was holding the knife. Seeing the scene unfold, I couldn't help but chuckle. Mr. Robert, the dead cannot be brought back to life. My condolences. Robert was pinned to the ground by the police, his eyes bloodshot as he roared at me. Alex, not only did you refuse to save her, but why did you deliberately provoke the kidnapper and cause my daughter's death? You owe me an explanation today. I crossed my legs, looking down at him with a smirk. Explanation? There's nothing to explain. I stand by what I said. You can only blame your daughter for her bad luck. Perhaps my disregard for life had finally incensed everyone. The younger police officers around me rushed forward from all directions, looking as if they wanted to skin me alive. I've never seen such a cold-blooded and heartless person in my life. You're 10, even 100 times worse than a murderer, Alex. You disregard life. You disregard the law. Today, even if it costs me my badge, I will bring you to justice. In an instant, everyone was enraged. Even Captain Miller, who was closest to me now, looked at me with a furious expression. I glanced at the number of live-stream viewers, a subtle smile playing on my lips. Just as the handcuffs were about to click around my wrists, I suddenly shouted at the crowd of police officers. Wait. I need to talk to your captain. Captain Miller slowly walked up to me, looking confused. Go on. What else do you have to say to defend yourself? I sighed softly, my tone calm and even. Captain Miller, it's been a while, hasn't it? The next second the seasoned officer's eyes widened, staring at me in disbelief. You. How do you know my name? I spoke coldly, in a voice only he and I could hear. If I told you I'm a reborn person, would you believe me? The room was a powder keg, the air thick with the scent of sweat, fear, and impending violence. Captain Miller stared at me, his eyes narrowing. The claim of being reborn was ludicrous, the rambling of a madman. Yet something in my gaze, a calm, abyssal depth that didn't match the situation, made him hesitate. Reborn. Miller scoffed, though he didn't signal his men to drag me away just yet. You think this is a game, Alex? A woman is dead. Your wife. I leaned in closer, my voice dropping to a harsh whisper that the body cameras couldn't pick up. Captain, 3 years from now, you're going to be investigated for the mishandling of the Red River case. You planted evidence to put away a child killer because the system was failing. I know you sleep with a bottle of scotch under your bed, because you can't forget the look in that girl's eyes. I know you're a good man who does bad things for the right reasons. Miller's face drained of color. His grip on my arm loosened, his breath hitching. The Red River case was ongoing. No one knew about the planted evidence. It was his darkest secret. Who are you? He breathed. I'm the man who died in this living room yesterday, I replied cryptically. Or at least I did in another timeline. Now listen to me closely. Sarah isn't dead. That finger? It's made of silicone and pig blood. The kidnapper is an actor named Julian, a drama school dropout Sarah has been sleeping with for 6 months. And Robert. I gestured toward my father-in-law, who was currently weeping theatrically on the floor. He's in debt to loan sharks for exactly $500,000. They orchestrated this show to get the ticket, launder the money, and get rid of me. Miller looked back at the sobbing Robert, then at the screen where the feed had gone black. If you arrest me, I continued, you play into their hands. They win. But if you trust me for 24 hours, I will give you the biggest bust of your career. I'll hand you the kidnapper, the accomplices, and the fraud on a silver platter. Miller stared at me for a long, agonizing second. Then he stepped back and cleared his throat. Stand down. Miller barked at his officers. Captain? A younger officer protested. I said stand down. We need to verify the footage. Secure the scene. Mr. Alex is coming with us for questioning, but he is not under arrest. Yet. Robert stopped crying instantly, his head snapping up. What? He killed her. You saw it. We saw a video feed, Mr. Robert, Miller said coldly. We need a body. Until then, it's a missing persons case. The police station was chaotic, but the interrogation room was quiet. I sat with a cup of lukewarm coffee, watching the two-way mirror. I knew Robert and Karen were in the lobby, giving interviews to the press, painting me as a monster. In my previous life, I thought, clutching the cup, I gave them the ticket. I begged. The kidnapper released Sarah, and we went home. 3 days later, I accidentally fell off a hiking trail. Sarah inherited the $1 billion. As I lay dying at the bottom of the ravine, I saw them up there, Sarah, Julian, and her parents, laughing. Not this time. Miller entered the room, tossing a plastic bag on the table. Inside was the bloody finger. Forensics ran a rush job, Miller said, his voice grim. It's human. I didn't blink. Check the DNA against Sarah's medical records. Specifically, check the bone density. Miller paused. We did. It matches Sarah. I smiled. Of course it does. Sarah had a mishap with a table saw in woodshop class in high school. She lost the tip of her ring finger. They reattached it, but it never healed right. She had it amputated surgically a month ago, claiming it was causing nerve pain. They kept it on ice? That's dedication. Miller's jaw dropped. You're saying they've been planning this for a month? For 3 months, I corrected. Since I bought the first lottery ticket. They didn't think I'd win, but they wanted a contingency plan to divorce me and take my savings. The $1 billion win just accelerated the timeline and raised the stakes. They don't want half. They want it all. Where are they? Miller asked, sitting down. The IP address was routed through a VPN in Russia, but the latency was too low, I explained. They are close. The rundown factory in the video? It's the basement of the old textile mill on 4th Street. Robert's brother used to work there as a security guard. He has the keys. Miller stood up, grabbing his radio. I'll send a SWAT team. No, I stopped him. If you go in guns blazing, they'll claim it was a prank or a misunderstanding. Or worse, Julian will actually kill her to cover his tracks, and then I'm the villain forever. We need them to destroy themselves. How? Release me, I said. Let me go claim the prize. The next morning, I walked out of the police station into a sea of flashing lights. The world hated me. #MonsterAlex was trending globally. People were burning effigies of me in the streets. I stood at the podium set up by the Lottery Commission. They looked uncomfortable standing next to the most hated man in America, but a rule was a rule. I had the ticket. Mr. Alex, a reporter shouted. Do you have no remorse? Your wife was murdered yesterday. Is she? I asked into the microphone, my voice amplified across the plaza. We haven't found a body, but let's assume she is. Grief does strange things to a man. I held up the giant check. $1 billion. I realized something last night. I continued, looking directly into the camera lens. I knew Sarah was watching. I knew Robert and Karen were watching. Money is the root of all evil. It caused my wife's death. If I keep this money, I am profiting from her murder. A hush fell over the crowd. So I have made a decision. I am not keeping a cent. I pulled out a lighter. The crowd gasped. I am donating the entire post-tax lump sum, roughly $600 million, to the National Foundation for Canine Depression. Silence. Absolute, confused silence. Dogs get sad too, I said with a straight face. And I hate cats. The paperwork is already signed. The transfer happens in 1 hour unless a miracle happens. I smiled a wicked, broken smile. But miracles don't exist, do they? Inside the basement of the textile mill on 4th Street, the atmosphere had shifted from celebratory to panic. Sarah was sitting on a crate, eating a takeout burger, her blood makeup smudged on her shirt. Julian, the kidnapper, was scrolling frantically through his phone. He's crazy, Julian screamed. He's actually going to do it. $600 million to sad dogs. He's bluffing, Sarah snapped, though her hands were shaking. Alex loves money. He's stingy. He wouldn't give it away. He just signed the papers on live TV, Sarah. Robert yelled, pacing the damp floor. If that money transfers, we did all this for nothing. We committed felony fraud, kidnapping, and terroristic threats for nothing. Karen grabbed Sarah's shoulders. You have to go back. You have to stop him. I can't. Sarah shrieked. I'm dead. He watched my head get bashed in. You survived. Julian improvised wildly. I missed. I hit your shoulder. You were in a coma. You crawled out. The police are looking for a body, Sarah, Robert said, his eyes wild with greed. If you turn up alive, we can say the kidnapper let you go because he panicked. We can say Alex refused to pay, so the kidnapper dumped you. We can sue Alex for emotional distress. We can divorce him and take half the money before he donates it. But you have to appear now. Sarah looked at the time. 50 minutes until the transfer. She stood up, wiping the ketchup from her mouth. Hit me. Julian blinked. What? Hit me. Make it look real. I need bruises. I need to look like I escaped hell. I was sitting in the VIP lounge of the Lottery Commission, sipping champagne, watching the clock. 4:45 p.m. Suddenly the doors burst open. The security guards were shoved aside. Alex. A collective gasp went through the room. There, standing in the doorway, was Sarah. She was tattered, covered in dirt and fresh bruises, limping. Sarah? I stood up, feigning shock. My God, you're a ghost. She ran to me, collapsing into my arms, weeping loudly for the cameras that were still rolling. He tried to kill me, Alex. But I fought back. I escaped. I crawled through the sewers. She looked up at me, her eyes searching for the check. I heard you were giving the money away? You can't. We need that money to heal, to go to therapy, to start over. Robert and Karen rushed in behind her, playing the part of relieved parents perfectly. My baby is alive. Karen shrieked. Oh, thank God. Alex, cancel the donation. Cancel it now. Our daughter needs the best medical care. The room was filled with applause. Reporters were crying. It was the perfect Hollywood ending. The wife returns from the dead, the husband saves the money, and they live happily ever after. I looked down at Sarah. She smelled of burger grease and sewer water. You escaped? I asked softly. Yes. It was a miracle. She sobbed. And the kidnapper? Julian? Sarah froze. Her parents froze. I hadn't mentioned the name Julian on TV. I don't know his name, she stammered. He wore a mask. Strange, I said, stepping back and releasing her. Because I'm pretty sure his name is Julian. And I'm pretty sure he's hiding in the back of your dad's van right now because he didn't have a ride home. I snapped my fingers. The large screen behind me, which was displaying the lottery logo, flickered and changed. It was a video feed. But not from the factory. It was from a hidden camera inside the factory basement, recorded 10 minutes ago. On screen, Sarah eating a burger. Hit me. Make it look real. On screen, Robert yelling, "We committed felony fraud for nothing." On screen, Julian practicing his kidnapper voice. The silence in the VIP lounge was heavier than a collapsed star. Sarah slowly turned to look at the screen. Her face went pale, this time for real. Robert and Karen looked like statues. I turned to the cameras. "Ladies and gentlemen, meet the cast of the year's worst drama." "Turn it off," Robert screamed, lunging for the remote. "It's not a recording anymore, Robert," I said calmly. "It's a live stream. You're viral." Captain Miller stepped out from the back office, flanked by 6 officers. He wasn't smiling. "Sarah, Robert, Karen, and Julian, whom we just apprehended in the parking lot," Miller listed. "You are all under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, extortion, filing a false police report, and domestic terrorism." "No," Sarah screamed, backing away. "He made me do it. Alex made me do it." "Save it for the judge," Miller said, handcuffing her. Karen fainted. For real this time. Robert tried to run but was tackled by a tackle football-sized officer. As they dragged Sarah away, she thrashed and screamed, her mask of the victim completely falling away to reveal the vicious, greedy woman beneath. "It's my money. I suffered for it. Alex, you bastard. You knew. You knew the whole time." I walked over to her as the officer held her by the arm. "I didn't just know, Sarah," I whispered, leaning into her ear. "I lived it. And in the last life, you didn't miss with the hammer. Enjoy prison. I hear the food is terrible." She stared at me with wide, terrified eyes as if looking at a demon, before being shoved into the police car. 1 month later, the scandal had been the biggest news story of the decade. The lottery hoax was already being made into a Netflix documentary. I sat on the deck of my new villa in the Amalfi Coast, overlooking the ocean. The sun was setting, painting the sky in hues of violet and gold. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Captain Miller. "Miller, they all took plea deals. 20 years for Sarah and Julian. 15 for the parents. They turned on each other instantly. Also, we found the Red River, evidence where you said it would be. I turned it in. I'm suspended pending investigation, but I can sleep at night now. Thanks." I put the phone down. I still had the money. The Sad Dog charity was a shell corporation I controlled. A little trick I picked up in my previous life's financial desperation. The money was mine. All of it. I took a sip of the finest wine money could buy. The sea breeze felt real. The money felt real. And for the first time in 2 lifetimes I felt free. I wasn't a hero. I wasn't a villain. I was just a man who refused to be the victim in his own story. To new beginnings. I toasted to the empty air. I drank, and the silence was beautiful.